This is video number 3, Sketchbook Pro, Basic Features. Okay, so first thing you're going to need to do is go open Sketchbook Pro. And again, we've looked at this before. If you've got somebody else's file open, which is typically going to be the case, you're going to want to go back, all the way back, and find your folder. And then go ahead and click onto your folder here. Once you're in your folder here, down at the bottom you'll notice there's a little plus. So from there, you're going to click the plus, and you'll have 3 options: New Sketch, New from Image, New from Camera. So if you click New Sketch, you can just choose that top size right at the top. You're probably not seeing it so well. It says 1280 by 800. And you would just choose the top one there. And from here, you could basically start drawing and what have you. The other thing you can do is you can click on the plus sign here and go New from Image. So if you already have an image somewhere else on Drive or in the gallery, you can open it directly from that location as well. Finally, the other option is to click plus and go New from Camera, in which case you will take a picture and then that will create a new file. I'm going to go back over here. You'll see I can scroll sideways, and there's that file that I was working on. So I'm just going to locate my pen. I grabbed out my S Pen, and there's a few basic things that I want to show you first of all. So of course the pen tools are here. Let's say I start doing a drawing, and I do a couple things here. The 4 corners have different invisible, basically invisible things that can happen when you tap on them. On the left corner, that will function as erase everything. So if you double tap on the left corner, you erase everything, which is great. And if you're not sure what it is, just double tap and you'll see the function will show up there. The other thing is you have left, double click will go a step back. Step back, step back. On the right side, if you double tap, it'll go step forward, step forward. And then sometimes you'll end up resizing and zooming in. Whoops, I pinched too much. Let's say you're going to zoom in close to do some details on a project like this. If you've done that and you want it to go back to the full size without having to kind of move it around that way, all you have to do is double tap the upper right hand corner. I find that's the most useful one. So again, if you've zoomed in, double tap on the upper right, and now you're back at the full size. Same as if you've gone small, double tap and boom, it'll bring you right there. Next part is the main inserting images. So if you want to go and get an image from the internet, you'd click on Chrome and find yourself some kind of picture. And I already typed in art in a Google search, and I found myself an image. You can of course scroll through, find yourself something that you like, then you press with your finger and hold, and you'll click there on Share Image. And then you can simply click on the pencil. Notice there are 2 sketchbooks here. This is an older version, and this is the one that we use. So just choose the pencil, and there we go. It's been put in here. Notice on the right, that picture is there, and the old stuff that I drew is down below, and I'll explain more about that a little bit later. And of course you can then go back and choose more images. So let's go back and choose another. So this hand, I like this hand. Press and hold, click Share, click Sketchbook. There we go, as a new layer I've got that. Next, layers. So the layers are here, and layers function as putting images on different levels. It's as if they're stacked one on top of the other. And I can move layers around. If I press and hold a layer, I can move it below. Notice now that the arts is above. If I press and hold this layer, I can move it above. Now notice that that drawing is on top of the arts. I can add a new layer by simply clicking the plus. Now there are layer tools. Inside a layer, you can do several things. First of all, I can hide a layer by simply clicking on the eyeball. So if I want to hide that layer and that layer, or let's say I'm going to hide that one and show this one, I'm just going to show the hand layer right there. Let's say I want to work with the hand layer. I can tap on the layer and tap again. Whoops. That's a locking tool, ignore that. There's a bunch of things I can do. I can copy that. So I can click copy, add a new layer, tap into that layer, and paste should show up. There's a funny little glitch. You have to copy twice. So now I'm going to go to my new layer and I can click paste, and now it's added it as a new layer right over there. In a similar way, even easier, I can simply duplicate, and now I've got an extra version right over here of that same one. And I can also cut, clear everything off that layer, and then boom, everything is gone. You can merge, which we'll talk about later, and of course I can even delete that layer right there. One more interesting thing you can do, and I'm going to highlight this layer now, is I can change from this layer property the opacity, which is transparency. So I can move this slider down and make that layer lighter or darker, which can come in handy as we'll see a little bit later. Main tools. Let's go now to the main tools. Main tools are up here. So we were dealing with layers over here, and there are layer tools when you click on a layer. But then there are main tools up here. Sorry, and the tools are here where you see the little math tools. Those are the math tools right over here. And from the math tools, you can do a variety of different things. We're going to skip selection for now and symmetry. Styles basically allows you to create straight lines if you want. So you can create straight lines of different colors depending on what color you chose. You can create circles or rectangles if you want, and just close that if you're done. We have the fill tool, which is kind of neat. So if I'm drawing something and I close my drawing, I can go then use my fill tool. From my color manager, I can choose a color and I can fill. Whoops, I've got too many things chosen. I'm going to choose this one right over here, and I can fill my colors. I wouldn't play around with these yet unless you want to try them on your own, but this is filling just one color. I can go around and I can fill different areas. That's in my tool bucket. Transform is a very useful one. Transform allows you to move whatever is in that layer. Okay, so let's say I'm going to go to this layer here. It's not showing because of the eye. Now I open it up, and now I can transform it. With one finger I can move it up or down or sideways. With two fingers I can not only move it, but I can make it smaller and I can rotate it. If you just want to rotate it, then you can click on, well, this will rotate, I believe, 90 degrees. Actually, I don't see just how to rotate without moving. But you can flip. There are a whole bunch of different ways you can move it, but the easiest is just to use your finger and pinch and zoom. One thing I'd like to explain to you is if I go outside of the screen size, that effectively will crop it. So notice here this line is showing up here. If I put that off the screen and click check, well, now that line is gone. Okay, so if you make something quite large, it will crop it. Let's try that again with a different layer. So this layer here, now notice this layer is blue. That means it's the active layer. So if I go to transform, nothing's going to happen to this hand because it's a different layer that is selected. If I want this layer to be enlarged, I have to select it blue, go to my tools, click transform. Now I can move this around. Click check, and I'm all done. Next, last thing I want to show you is how to draw on top of a layer. So let's say I wanted to draw on top of this hand and make my own drawing of it. So I'm going to select that layer, drop the transparency down, create a new layer, put that layer somewhat on top, and then select a darker color, like black. And I can select the width of the pen by moving that. And now I can zoom in and I can trace on top of that layer. And now I'm making my own drawing of what I found online. And I can combine a variety of different drawings together. And in fact, once I've started drawing on here, I'm no longer copying because, as you can see, I'm making my own little changes. So this is somebody else's idea of a hand with the brush, but I'm making some definite changes to it, and so in a way it's now my own. So now to make it the full size, I double click. To hide and just show my drawing, I'm going to hide the underlayer, and now I can just see my drawing. And as you can see, this is a way to then develop your own drawings of somebody else's web-based image. One thing I forgot to mention is your drawing tools here. Of course, you've got eraser, different drawing tools. You can change how thick they are and the opacity if you want it to be lighter or darker of a certain color. You can also select here. This outer ring selects color. This inner ring will select the saturation, meaning here we have a bright red. Moving down this way, we get lighter, and you can see a preview of the color up here. Moving this way, you get more towards grayscale. and then moving this way you get darker. And so you can choose literally any version of red that you would want here, and you can of course then change colors. If you want, you can click the puck. The puck is a smaller version of that, and that simply allows you to choose by pressing here or by pressing here. If you want the puck to go away, just press the puck again.